Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
6:07, O'Connor and Company, tuning in here on this post-mortem post-election day coverage. I got into the habit over the last several months of saying it's our election coverage, and, well, no, now it's post-election coverage. Coming up at 7:05, Katie Gorka, chairwoman of the Republican Party in Fairfax. 7:35, Tim Hobart of the American Veterans Center. And then 8:05, Mark Halperin, political analyst and reporter who lives in New York, so maybe he can shed some light on the Mamdani phenomenon here. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Morning, Julie. You a little better? Now we got an hour under our belt here after last night's results.
Oh, yeah. Feeling much better, Larry. Everything's great.
Yes. Here's the best thing I can tell Virginians who are not crazy, violent Democrats right now, like Jay Jones, and those who love and support him, like Abigail Spanberger. At least we're not in New York City, where this guy just became mayor. Zoran Mamdani, Uganda-born, in politics for a total of 5 or 6 years now, never really held a full-time job except as a really bad amateur rap artist funded by his gajillionaire parents. He embraced jihad, wanted to globalize jihad. His statement after October 7th, he waited a day, was to decry the deaths of both Palestinians and Israelis. Of course, the Palestinians that died were the terrorists who were killed after members of the IDF and security forces killed them. Zoran Mamdani, who quotes Karl Marx on a regular basis direct from the Communist Manifesto, not the Democrat Socialist Manifesto, no, the Communist Manifesto. Zoran Mamdani, like all the other Democrats, ran against Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, for the most part, stayed out of this race because he was busy striking peace deals in that Israeli war and overseas trade deals with the European Union and trade deals with Asia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So last night, true to form, as some pundits thought, well, Mamdani won, and now he's going to reach his hand across the aisle, and he's going to try to work with other people, and he's going to try to be a unifier and a healer in a very divided city. No. This was Zoran Mamdani.
So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Yeah, most chilling about that, of course, is the roar of the crowd. We've seen this before. His speech last night was much more effective in the original Russian when it was delivered back in 1917. And I assure you, the Bolsheviks were cheering loudly then, too.
Yeah, his speech was angry. I saw one comment, I think it was Van Jones on CNN, who was saying, gosh, this was a different Mamdani. Was he so calm? Oh,
I've
sorry.
got it for you. Yeah.
Oh,
wait, yeah.
I'm sorry.
The smiley,
Maybe I should look
chuckly
at the show
Mamdani. Smiley, chuckly Mamdani with his Instagram videos and his
cute.
coy little smile and saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with Marxism. I'm going to sell it to you like a product, like it's breakfast cereal. Everything's fine.
So
and I kid you not. In fact, on the panel that I was participating in all night long in the New York Post two-way coverage, the experts were speculating, oh, yes, it's going to be a conciliatory reach across. He recognizes that half the city voted against him, so he's going to offer an olive branch to Andrew Cuomo. He's going to offer an olive branch. No. Here's Van Jones's reaction afterwards.
That's an opportunity. I think the Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's almost like
Weird.
these communists, they act like it's a great idea until they get into office. You know, take a look at Fidel Castro, Van Jones,
Right.
and Hugo Chavez.
Right. Stalin, hey, when do those gulags open? We're not going to talk about him during the campaign. I mean, he also cited Nehru, okay, who this was an Indian leader right after independence from the UK, from the British. He destroyed India with socialism, okay? Yes. And, you know, look, I know everybody's watched Gandhi, okay? Nehru was a nice guy in the movie Gandhi. He set India back decades. Go ahead.
He had very cool jackets. You got
I will say the Nehru collar. I'm a fan.
Right?
I'm
Come
a
on.
fan.
I like
right.
that. Scott Jennings.
Don't try to make jokes, Larry.
Scott Jennings on the CNN panel. No. My heart breaks for New York. I love New York. I used to live in New York. I go to New York a lot. The sound you hear right now, you're hearing a lot of noise and bustle from Manhattan right now. There's two distinct sounds going on right now. One is a bunch of people in New York packing boxes and calling their realtors and saying, well, maybe we can rent it out for 4 years and then maybe we'll come back. No, just sell it. Sell now before it's not worth anything. The other sound you hear is the rest of the country canceling their conventions, canceling their trips.
Yes.
Canceling why
go? Why support that
ugly.
city?
Scott Jennings was on the panel with Van Jones, and Scott replied in the perfect way to Van's naivete. Listen to this.
Scott?
Oh, are you saying he wasn't the unifying voice of a generation that you predicted mere moments ago? Axe, where was the man that you predicted would not slice and dice the? Look, guys, he started his speech by quoting Eugene Debs, who ran for president of the United States 5 times as the Socialist Party of America candidate. He repeatedly attacked people in this. I know my socialists. I keep a close eye on them. I work here. So here's the thing. He went after everybody that he thinks is a problem. People who own things, people who have businesses. He said an interesting quote. No problem too large for government to solve.
Or too small, important.
And so when you think of the world that way, that every problem, no matter how small or how large, is something for government to do, let me just decipher this for you. Tax increases as far as the eye can see, which means the people who need to provide jobs to the young people that you say need jobs are going to flee as quickly as they possibly can. I think this was a divisive speech, and he clearly sees the world in terms of the people who are oppressing you and the oppressed. And he said the oppressed are now in City Hall.
By the way, if you think he's overstating the case about that line about government being able to solve all your problems, this is cut for. Remember, Julie and I came of age politically when Ronald Reagan was saying that the problem is the government. Government, what was his? Gosh, I'm blanking on his name because I'm so annoyed at yesterday's results. Government isn't the solution to the problem. Government is the problem, was Ronald Reagan's line. Here's Zohran Mamdani last night.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
That's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying if you have any understanding of history and any understanding of our founding and the principles that our nation was founded on. But let's face it, most of the people who voted yesterday in New York for Mamdani, they didn't grow up here.
That's right.
It's 6:15 WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
What else can we say about New York City and their new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, other than expect him to be the poster child for Democrats going forward over the course of the next couple of years and the next couple of election cycles? They're not the Democrat Party anymore. Julie, they're the Democrat Socialists. And it's about time they actually told us who they were. In a way, there's something refreshing about this because they skirt around it, they dance around it, they pretend that this isn't who they are. But the fact is Bernie Sanders, AOC, and now Zohran Mamdani do, in fact, represent the intellectual center of gravity in this party and certainly the energy and fundraising power of their base. So, yeah. I mean, at least they're out in the open. At least now they're being honest about who they are.
Yeah, gosh, many years ago, my friend Ramesh Panura wrote this book called The Party of Death, and it was focused on abortion and how that had really captured the Democrat Party. And I think now that title of that book, that is what they have become, the party of death, whether that's businesses or people's livelihoods or the death of freedom, but the death certainly of what many thought of as this country. I know that I'm being very Eeyore-ish right now. I know that, but when you have someone like Jay Jones, and we talk about the party of death, who celebrated violence and actually said, people are going to have to feel pain. You think about the shutdown. You think about what the Democrats put this country through with that shutdown. And now there's rumors that, oh, no, they're willing to talk right after the election. The willingness of Democrats to watch Americans suffer and, again, even bring violence against them. And again, this is not sort of the fringe. This is not the radical wing of the Democrat Party. Not one Democrat in Virginia asked Jay Jones to step aside. What does that say to Republicans like me when the top cop is now someone who sort of thinks, well, if someone has to die in order to reach a political sort of goal, that's okay. That is terrifying for people.
Yeah, well, this is why I said it's at least they're being honest about their Marxist leanings and their center of gravity being socialism. Because, gosh, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs, and those eggs happen to be the people that get lost in the transactions of wealth redistribution. And how did he put it? No problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. He also did a victory lap right on the head of Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo refused to reach out to Republicans and try to give them a reason to vote for him. He refused. He's such a narcissist and so obstinate that he even refused to admit that he was a flawed elected official when he was governor and the panic and harm that he inflicted when he was governor. And what is the result? What did he benefit by putting on the kid gloves and not trying to build a coalition? Here's Mamdani doing a victory dance on his face. Cut 5.
You have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name.
Yeah, that's fine. That's enough. That's enough. I mean, listen, I don't like Andrew Cuomo, but that's. I mean,
he didn't even. Cuomo couldn't even. He couldn't give Republicans one reason, not one reason. He couldn't even endorse Maud Marone, who is a Democrat. Talking about, everybody throws around like Spamberger's a Democrat, moderate. Do you guys all know what moderate means? No, Maud Marone, she talks to Republicans. She is a Democrat. She works with Democrats. She ran against Alvin Bragg. Cuomo couldn't even endorse Maud Marone. That would have given Republicans in that city reason to vote for Cuomo. He didn't campaign in certain neighborhoods. He ignored Republicans. He was the laziest campaigner, and he refused, and that tells you something about this guy. He just refused to in any way admit that he needed Republicans to win this race.
He's a Cuomo.
Yep.
The narcissism and arrogance that brought him to even run against Eric Adams tells you everything who he is. I mean, that was really the thing. Eric Adams was running for re-election. He was the mayor of New York. He was a Democrat. People like Mamdani were going to primary him. It wasn't until Cuomo said, you know what, I got robbed. I got kicked out of Albany. I'm going to have my political comeback. And as soon as he announced that he was going to run, any other reasonable Democrat who may have had a chance got out of the race. He got all of the backing and all of the donations that Eric Adams normally would have had. And, of course, he's a monster. People didn't want, even Democrats didn't want to vote for him, so they go with Mamdani, and now Mamdani looks like this, rising phoenix from the ashes in New York City when all he did was defeat one of the least popular politicians in recent history in Andrew Cuomo. But you know what? That's enough. And the greatest hubris of all is I saw Democrat analysts on cable news who don't like Mamdani last night blaming Curtis Sliwa. And Republicans let this happen. Republicans did this. Dude, this is all your mess, and you deserve every bit of it. I weep for New York City. The only saving grace is that the mayor's office is actually quite weak when it comes to raising taxes or initiating proposals. You need to wrangle that city council, which is gigantic, and you need to work with the state of New York. He wants to raise taxes on the rich, as he calls it, to fund all of his free buses and free childcare and all these other things that he wants to do. He needs Governor Hochul to okay all of those tax increases, and Governor Hochul is running for re-election in 28, probably against Elise Slotkin, and she's not going to go anywhere near that garbage. So maybe you have a bit of a respite. I'm trying to find a positive spin on this. That's the best I can do.
You're doing great.
6:24.
Keep it here. It's cow time. 6:30.
WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for joining us here on the postpartum or postmortem of the 2025 elections. 7:05, Katie Gorka, chairwoman of the Republican Party in Fairfax. 7:35, Tim Holbert from the American Veterans Center. And at 8:05, Mark Halprin on what the heck happened in New York City and New Jersey. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Yeah, what happened indeed? What happened? Well, let's get to friend of the program, Cal Thomas, who's seen a share of election cycles now and again. Okay, I guess let's start with the socialism thing. I mean, you look at the center of gravity in the Democrat Party with regard to ideas, energy, the ability to get out a big crowd and get an overwhelming vote and raise money. You're looking at Bernie Sanders, AOC, and now Zohran Mamdani. There's no escaping it. They've been flirting with socialism, but this is who they are at this point. It's hard not to reach that conclusion, Cal.
Well, yes, you're right, Larry, as usual. One of the major takeaways, I think, is that the Democrats were smart. They didn't focus on the social issues. They didn't talk about men and women's sports, boys and girls, locker rooms and bathrooms, transgenderism, all of that stuff that killed them in the last couple of election cycles. That's very smart. Doesn't mean they don't believe it anymore. They just didn't put it out there for voters to consider. The other thing is that, especially in New York, this whole idea of government being able to make your life better and cut your costs, government can't do that. Don't they remember what Richard Nixon did with wage and price controls? It never works. Only you can make your life better.
No, they don't remember that. Just to answer your rhetorical question.
Well, here's something else they don't remember. My take on the entire election yesterday is the 1963 song by the Safaris called "Wipeout." Remember that one? Yeah, boy, that was bad.
It was very bad. And they definitely, I mean, here in Virginia, almost all the ads from Abigail Spanberger were against Trump and about abortion.
Well, right. But here's the thing about Spanberger, and this is another thing the media never do. She cast herself as a moderate. Nobody ever defines that term. What does moderate mean? Does it mean lower taxes? Does it mean pro-life? Does it mean against same-sex marriage and all these other social issues? They never ask. She's a liberal, and so is Mamdani, and so are the
and
winner
Mikey
of
Sherrill. Yeah,
exactly. All liberals.
Cal, I'm going to hand it over to Julie, but I agree with you on that. I did the New York Post election night coverage last night with Mark Halperin, who's going to join us at 8:05, and I said that. I said, you look at Abigail Spanberger, because he kept calling her moderate. I said, you look at her voting record, she's not moderate. She's not moderate. She's right there with Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. And his only response was, well, she has national security credentials on her resume. That doesn't make you a moderate.
No.
Yeah,
Go
on, Cal.
No, I was just going to say, the media fails all the time on these elections with their polls, although the polls were right this time, but in the past they've not been right, but we keep going back to them. But the major thing for me is, as a conservative, no government can make your life better. That's up to you. And if they really want to make life more affordable in New York and these other places, they should cut taxes and return some of the hard-earned income of their citizens to the people who earn the money. That's the way to make things more affordable.
I really am stunned this morning. Look, things have gone really well under Governor Youngkin, and voters seem to... They're very capricious. They just are back and forth like this, and it's almost schizophrenic, because they elected Youngkin specifically because sort of on a parents' rights issue, when and him saying that parents absolutely have a role in their child's education and development. Spanberger is going to keep the transition secret. She's going to put in place policies where parents don't know about the social transition of their children in schools. She's going to allow men in women's spaces, and vice versa, men or women in men's spaces, as we've seen in the Loudoun County schools. It's really hard for me to get a handle on parents in Virginia. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is the Talbot's outfits and the fact that she wasn't asked very many hard questions and she was able to avoid talking about the issues. I mean, when Nick Minnock, that local reporter, asked her about men and women's spaces, the word salad, the Kamala-like word salad that came out of her mouth, and yet I just don't understand why parents are satisfied with this in the Virginia area.
Well, you touched on something in your comment there, Julie, that I think is very important. People are not ideological. A lot of them aren't anymore. They don't have a firm sense of what capitalism is, what socialism is, or 100 years ago, Calvin Coolidge was president, and he said, I want taxes to be less so people will have more. He wanted government to be less so people would have more freedom. The greater government control of our lives, the less freedom we have. But see, what we're seeing now is a generational transition. You have a bunch of young people, as you had in New York, voting in ways that they think will benefit themselves, not the general public and not the national welfare. And they've been taught this in their universities and their public schools. Socialism's great. Spread the wealth around, as Obama said. If you make $2 and I make $1, it's not fair. You owe me 50 cents. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is in our educational system, and now we're seeing it reflected in our political system.
We'll be lucky if it's only 50 cents. Cal Coolidge.
Okay.
Yeah, good job. By the way, what did you wear to that inauguration for Coolidge? I forget.
Yes, well, I appreciate that. It's the same thing I wore for Lincoln's second inaugural.
Cal Thomas, national treasure. Thanks, Cal.
Thank you.
It is 6:43.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
In an already busy news cycle yesterday, we also had the reaction to the passing of former Vice President Dick Cheney that was revealed during our program yesterday. We discussed it a bit. You saw a lot of people, as predicted, members of the media who hated Dick Cheney when he was vice president, vilified him, called him every name in the book. Oh, yeah, all the things they call Trump now, they called Dick Cheney, including Darth Vader. And, he had blood on his fangs and dripping off his fang and everything. But at the end there, he came out and supported Kamala Harris over Donald Trump because of his daughter Liz Cheney's quixotic political ambitions, and now, of course, you've got these members of the media providing, these tear-filled obits for Dick Cheney, saying, "Oh, he represented a Republican Party that is such a far cry from today's Donald Trump Republican Party." And I'm like, you hated that Republican Party. You demonized that Republican Party. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it makes me so mad when I think people need to understand that when I put a Romney sign in my yard, Romney, let me say it slower. Romney, sign in my yard, in 2012, and I live on a busy street. I had a 2, 4, and 6-year-old at that point, and people slowed down to call me every name in the book. I'm talking vile, vile things they said in front of my kids.
That's right.
And I'll just say like racist, and all sorts of comments about my physical appearance. It was unbelievable in front of my toddlers. So that was Romney. And so when people say they're just reacting to Trump, no. And next year, in a couple years, the next nominee, it's not ever going to change. This is the party. These are the Democrats now.
Julie, it's a good thing Jay Jones doesn't live in your neighborhood when he saw that sign, especially with little children like that.
Hey.
Anyway,
dogs.
yesterday there was an outpouring of acknowledgement and such for Dick Cheney and the Cheney family. He was a world leader, and he passed away yesterday, and it's noteworthy. Kamala Harris, there's something about the Vice President's Club, right? Al Gore will come to Dick Cheney's funeral. So will Kamala Harris. So will I don't know if Joe Biden will have the health to do it, but this is a thing. All the vice presidents. So Dan Quayle will be there, obviously. Other vice presidents. It's a thing. Yeah. Kamala Harris was a vice president. She put out a tweet about how saddened she was to learn of his passing, and a devoted public servant and all that jazz. Yeah. Here's the interesting thing. We learned about this during the 6 a.m. hour yesterday.
Yeah.
She didn't post anything until 2:30 in the afternoon.
Had to collect herself.
Well, she had to sober up, perhaps.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah, same thing. Meanwhile, not to be outdone, the White House said nothing. President,
why should he? Why should Trump say?
Well, I was going to say there's all this outrage. How this is so classless. This is so despicable. This is so disgusting. Yeah, okay. Take a listen to Cut 13. Last time we heard from Dick Cheney. Yeah. This is what he said about Donald Trump.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal
so there you go. Yeah. So, how dare Donald Trump not say something nice about the man?
Yeah, who said he was the biggest threat? I mean, and also that many people thought, again, a little bit of assassination prep here. Okay, biggest threat to democracy. Our country's gonna, and also. I found it really vile to put an older gentleman on air like that. I felt like this reeked of Liz Cheney using her father to sway people who might identify as Republicans but didn't feel comfortable voting for Donald Trump. I thought it was really gross to do that to Dick Cheney, who did not seem totally well in that video. So, yeah, why should at least Trump is authentic.
Also, by the way, it didn't work. Just
I know.
FYI. I want to repeat the fact that it was President Trump they were calling on to say something. The president, the person who won that election.
Yeah.
6:52.